Welcome back to the second video of the video series on the PMDG 737 cargo version. We are doing a flight from Palma de Mallorca to Madrid. In the previous video we already did the pre-flight setup and everything to be ready for push, and actually that's where we pick up today. Still in Mallorca, the aircraft is clean from outside, the APU is running, and we are about to be ready for pushback. So we can do the before start procedure. As in the previous video, I'm going to go through these procedures which are built in, which are coming from PMDG. They are sometimes a little bit long to finish, but actually I want to make sure that that you can also do the same at home, and I want to mention everything here just to make sure everything is covered. So before start procedure, some parts of it were already done in the previous video, but let's just go through. Indicated airspeed selector set V2, set LNAV if needed, armed, VNAV if needed is armed, initial heading set, initial altitude also set, exterior doors closed, fuel panel set, electric hydraulic pump switch is on, anti-collision light switch on, because we are about to move, and the trim was set. Let's do the before start checklist, and then we talk to the ground. Fly the door. It's closed and locked. Actually the lock is here, and you can check the door. Not like this. Sorry, I'm new to this. Here. Fuel, we have 5.9 tons, pumps are on, passenger signs on, windows were locked, MCP. V2126 heading to 36 and the altitude is 4000, takeoff speeds. V1120, VR121, V2126. CDU pre-flight complete. I'm flying, so I have takeoff ref, and the monitoring usually has legs page for departure. Rudder aileron trim, 3 and 0, taxi and takeoff briefing is complete, and the anti-collision light to go, which I'm gonna put it on. It's on. And let's ask for pushback. Here is pushback. So standard nose to the left because we taxi eastbound, and we're going to select the tug and push start.
Go ahead. We've been cleared for pushback and start straight back. Roger that. Ready for push straight back. Brakes off.
You release the brakes, start timing.
Brakes released.
And see if we get a good pushback. While pushed, we can start the engines. So for engine start, we turn the packs off, make sure we have bleed, and start the engine number 2. So first we should see N2 rotation, and then eventually N1 rotation as well. Once you have at least 23% N2, you can turn the fuel pump on. And during engine start, we usually monitor all the parameters, especially the EGT.
Brake set. Brake set.
Yeah, I selected straight pushback, sorry. It's okay, we're gonna manage.
Alright, steering pin is disconnected. Watch for the slip and release from guidance on your left. Have a good flight.
Ciao. So engine number 2 is started. Let's start engine number 1. Again, once you hit the start switch, start valve open light comes on, N2 starts rotating, eventually N1 starts rotating, and once you open the fuel valve, within 10 seconds you should see AGT rising. I'm gonna do a video on the engine start only. There is some interesting stuff to talk about there as well. At this point we are happy to just start the engines normally. At 56 N2 we are supposed to have a cutout when this switch jumps back to its off position, and we want to make sure that the start valve open light illuminates as well. Alright, 2 good engine starts. You can tell the ground to disconnect, and in the meantime we jumped the engine start, and we can do the before taxi checklist and the procedure first. So the generators should come on, probe heat switch is on, packs to auto, and make sure to get rid of the APU bleed, to get rid of the dual bleed light. Start switches to continuous. Recall checked. Set flaps 5. Do a flight control check. Recall. We have verified takeoff speeds. That's most probably because the weight is now a little bit less. Usually we have a prompt here to push verify, so we are happy with the speeds still. Okay, so the flaps is 5, green light, and the transponder to alt reporting off, or transponder, and we can read the checklist. For taxi procedure. Yeah, we did the procedure, sorry, and now the checklist. Generators on, probe heat on, anti-ice off, isolation valve auto, engine start switches continuous. Recall was checked, auto brake RTO, engine start levers idle, detent, flight controls were checked, and the ground equipment supposed to be clear before taxi checklist complete. Okay, as I said, I'm not going to bother with ATC, so let's say we have taxi clearance. So we just start taxi. just join this taxiway. Taxi speed is not supposed to be more than 30 knots ground speed, so we'll take care of that. I can see some traffic coming in front of us on the taxiway. We just ignore that. We know why it is. The ground traffic in MSFS at this stage is quite funny sometimes. I can see some traffic on the final for runway 24 right, so we might need to wait for those as well before departure. This aircraft is just beautiful. Very nicely done. Alright, so one just landed. And there is another one right away, quite realistically. Not. Okay, so we can just make sure everything is okay. We can do the before takeoff checklist. Flaps. 5 green light, and the stabilizer trim should be 5.57 units, which is set before takeoff checklist is complete. And we just wait for traffic. That traffic looks seems to be far away, so we can depart before that. For the lineup, we put the lights on, get rid of the taxi lights. If we can put the strobe light, I'm always struggling with this one. And the transponder. Terrain, start timing, push 40% initially, wait for the engines to stabilize, and then hit the toga.
Demoting. B2. Positive rate of climb.
Gear up. Feet, not pulling the nose more than 20 degrees initially. Autopilot is on, and 1. Let's see it from the outside. It is just lovely. Departure cleared us, flight level 110. Set. Acceleration altitude is passed. 230 is set by the FMC. Flaps 1. And flaps up. Flaps up, no lights. Since we are cleared to a flight level already, I'm happy to push standard. Do an altimeter cross check and call for after takeoff checklist and procedure. I just realized that we forgot to turn off the APU, which doesn't happen too often, but it can happen in real life as well. There's no problem, we can just turn it off at this point. So after takeoff checklist, engine bleeds checked on, PAX, auto, landing gear up and off, flaps up, no lights. So the after takeoff checklist is complete. We are cleared to flight level 290. And we were cleared to proceed to Argor. That's a little shortcut from the ATC. So Argor, direct, we execute. In the meantime, we pass flight level 100, so we can get rid of the lights, release the non-existent passengers, get rid of the baro readout. Usually at flight level 100, do a scan flow just to make sure everything is set how we want it. That would be a good time in case you would have fuel in the center tanks. If it's more than 2 tons, you would put the center tank pumps on right away for taxi. If it's less than 2 tons but more than 0, then you would take off with those pumps off and actually flight level 100 or passing flight level 100 is a good time to put the pumps on. Okay, so 285 we reached already, climbing to flight level 290, leaving Mallorca behind. And time for a coffee. Okay, so we got our clearance to climb flight level 310, which is our cleared level. So 310 is set here, and then we usually double check it with the FMC and also with the pressurization panel that we have 310 set 3 times. We just got an ACARS call from the company that they would appreciate if we could arrive a couple of minutes earlier. So they asked us to increase our cost index to 80. Right now with cost index 15, we plan to land in Madrid at 12:07 in about 50 odd minutes, 52 minutes. So let's see if we put cost index 80, how it's gonna change. Cost index 80 will give us 314 in the climb, target speed of 7.9 in the cruise, and quite a high speed for descent. I'm not really comfortable with this one here, so we're gonna reduce to 80 for the descent. We can put 250 instead of 240 below flight level 100. And now, yeah, we saved 5 minutes with this one. Also, obviously we will burn a little bit more fuel, but 3.5 arriving to Madrid, the weather is quite nice, so actually I'm quite happy with it. Okay, so still climbing 310, and everything is looking good. We are approaching the RVSM airspace slowly. RVSM airspace stands for reduced vertical separation minima. That basically means that the aircrafts can be separated by 1,000 feet of altitude only, which is not much considering the speeds we are flying usually. RVSM airspace is from 290 up to 410, and before entering that airspace, we have to make sure we comply with the requirements. And so usually we have to cross-check the altimeters and make sure they are within limits. So passing flight level 288 very soon on this side and on that side as well. So it's cross-checked, so we can actually enter RVSM airspace with no problem. 310 is coming. So usually just before reaching the altitude, we reduce the climb speed if it's more than 1,000. Two reasons for that. One is not applicable today, passenger comfort. The other one is to avoid TCAS alerts. As I mentioned, the vertical separation is just 1,000 feet, so we can have actually somebody cruising above us at flight level 320. And with high vertical speed, it might trigger the TCAS system. So to avoid that, to avoid some unnecessary alerts, we just reduce the vertical speed to 1,000. Okay, so we are reaching flight level 310. Alt acquires and alt hold. So we have 310 in the FMS. Can push VNAV, FMC speed, VNAV path, just as it should be. That's usually a good point again to do scan flow, just to make sure everything is still okay, which it is. And we have a couple of minutes before starting preparing for arrival to rest a little bit, enjoy the view. We are passing Ibiza on our left, and to the far left is already the peninsula. So yeah, just enjoy the view before we start preparing for the approach. So here we are, just past Valencia and about to start descending towards Madrid. We get the latest weather, and it seems that they actually changed the runway and now they are using runway 18. So the first thing is we are going to change the runway here. It's going to be Islet Zulu 18 left via Luler and Prado 7 Echo arrival. Arrival not available for runway. I think that's wrong, because for 18 left, Prado 7 Echo is available. Okay, so we are still burning 600 kilos until landing. So to get our landing speed, I'm going to deduct that 600 from the gross weight, 50.2, planning landing with flaps 30, speed 124, and 18 left is a long runway, so I am just going to leave the auto brake off. Pull the charts. Islet Zulu, runway 18 left. That's the initial approach chart. 11-1, let's go through quickly to check the routing from Luler via Mike Delta 700 with all the restrictions, then 705, back sit 6000, already speed 200, center fix, and the final approach. Fix 18 left, 6000 feet. Okay, good. And also we will pull the final approach chart. 18 left, final approach, ILS Zulu. Okay, 11-1 alpha, frequency 1.5. Triple 1.5, landing course, it's 181. One 6,000 feet platform, that's good. 2151 is our minimums. So this is something which is a little bit different in the real aircraft. This knob, this switch is not rotary. It's a momentary switch to the right and left. So actually, if you just rotate it and hold, and the numbers will start to run. And actually, the speed, the running speed of the digits in the real aircraft is exponential. So the more you hold, the faster it is. So it doesn't take that much time to set a minimum, actually. Okay, missed approach, just to review, or at least to check if it's in the box correctly. Runway heading to Barajas VOR, yeah, and we are. In the meantime, we are cleared to descend flight level 240. So I'm finding the MCP and pushing the altitude intervention and initiating descent. Okay, so back to the chart. Barajas VOR, continue radial 181 to 12 miles, 12.5 miles. Barajas at 5,000 feet. 12.5 miles should be Mike Point. Yeah. At or below, then turn right and follow radial 265 to Papa Delta Tango, that's Perales. Direct to Rofix then and join the holding at 5,000. So radial 265 Perales, direct to Rofix and join the holding at 5,000. So all good. And for the arrival, let's pull that chart as well. It's going to be Prado 7 Echo. Yes, and the routing. We are proceeding to Castellón already, as you can see. 150 or above is checked. Then NOSCO as a clearance limit, maximum speed 220 and 10,000 feet or above. Then Rodadillo 220, Luler 220, and between 8 and 9,000, all in the box. Retard in the meantime. Okay, so another scan flow up here just to make sure everything is okay. We put the belts on just to get the habit. So 181, that's good. I'm gonna use auto brake off, as I said, flaps 30 approach. We have the minimum and the speed set. All looks good. So clearance to continue descent to flight level 150 set, and we can do the descent checklist. Pressurization landing altitude is set, recall was checked, auto brake off, landing data, VREF 123, the minimum is 2151, and the approach briefing was complete. Descent checklist completed. Quite nice weather today all over the peninsula. Okay, ATC just called. We are clear direct to Luler. So we're gonna put it in the box, execute. And we are clear to descend to 8,000 feet. Descend 8,000 feet. And QNH is 1022. QNH 1022. Good. Once we have the QNH set, we can read the approach checklist. Altimeters QNH 1022 set, left, right, and the standby. Approach checklist complete. You might have seen before, let me see if I can zoom, that green arc on the engine displays. That's the physical position of my throttle, so it's not there in the real aircraft. It's just an aid for us to see where our throttle is physically in the sim. Okay, so we are approaching flight level 100. And still the weather is quite nice. Apparently it's a little bit gusty down there, and wind is from the southwest. Here, drag required. I'm not sure about it. Let's see if the aircraft will decelerate. A little bit slow on that one because it's supposed to follow the VNF path still, but it's not terrible. We'll put the lights on. Okay, so we are descending 6,000. Just received the clearance for that. So let's see how the aircraft is managing this arrival. We have all the speeds set here in the FMS, so I will just let it do its job and do some sightseeing in the meantime. Okay, so it says FMC speed. The speed is coming back to comply with Luller 220. Drag required. Again, we just leave it. Just came momentarily, so I think we are okay. Luller is 220, and we have 220 retard. And now it's aiming for Mike Delta 700 at 7,000 with speed 220. So far looking good. In the meantime, we have a 10 knot extra overspeed. That's actually quite normal with some thermals. So just pull a little bit of speed brake. To get rid of it. Okay, it's turning towards 705. 6,000. But previously we were cleared to 6,000 already, so that's good. And now we have the localizer and the glide slope. In the view. So our clearance now is on present heading. Cleared ILS 18 left. So we push the Warlock first to arm the localizer. We maintain 6,000. And just to get rid of these extra points here, we're gonna put an intercept leg to the center fix. Okay, we are reducing the speed. To 200. Warlock is captured. Approach mode. Actually just below 200. So the glide is alive. We are still maintaining 6,000. And we align the heading with the runway heading 181. It's quite bumpy up here, which is completely normal with that wind. We'll put the VSD on just for situational awareness. And we can report localizer established for 18 left. Okay, so the glide is approaching. Put flaps 1. And get the speed down to 180. Glide slope captures, and the missed approach altitude is 5,000 feet set. Flaps 5. just to help the aircraft to maintain 180 on the glide. We usually keep 180 until 6 miles or so. And very nice, there is a parallel approach to 18 right now, you can see. It looks quite amazing. Aiming to put the gear down at 5 miles. Checking the TCAS, there is somebody ahead of us as well, apparently 2.5 miles, which is kind of close. So we will just put the gear down and reduce to our minimum edge approach speed. Checked. Flaps 30. Set speed 128. Beautiful. You can see the skyscrapers of Madrid already. And you can do the landing checklist. Engine start switch is continuous, speed brake is armed, landing gear down, 3 greens, and the flaps are supposed to be 30. 40, 30 green light. Landing checklist completed. We align the throttle with the actual N1 roughly, just to avoid surprises once we disconnect the autopilot and the auto throttle. Okay, so let's have some fun. Engaging the auto throttle
1000
checked and the autopilot as well. And it's a bit bumpy.
Traffic. Traffic. Traffic.
Thank you. So we have runway in sight. Puppy is a little bit off, apparently.
Approaching minimums.
It's checked.
Minimums.
And landing.
100. 50. 30. 20. 10.
Somebody's in front of us on the runway, taxiing very slow, which is obviously not realistic. But I'm gonna stop behind him just for the sake of the game. All right, so we landed 04. So he's vacating here, apparently. So I'm going to try to overtake him and vacate next taxiway. Absolutely realistic, right? Race is on, buddy. Good. So we are clear of the traffic, so we can just cross. To join Mike. And once we are now we can just decelerate back to our normal taxi speed. And once we are taxiing straight, we can do the after landing procedure. Okay. I don't know why we didn't have strobe, because I put it on previously, but that's fine. All right. Can also start the APU, and we will try out one engine taxi. Let's see how it works. APU is available. Put it on, and we wait another minute for the engine to cool down. The cargo area in Madrid is quite it's as far as possible, really. So it's going to be a long taxi. Okay, so we just cut off engine number 2 and continue taxi with only one engine. To get the master caution is normal, as we will have some lights which are associated with the stopped engine. So we are at Golf 1. We are joining Alpha taxiway here. And our stand today is 202. So we are going to take Alpha Romeo 7 to the stand. I'm not sure who painted this line, but apparently he had a rough night the day before. So it would be nice to know which one is 202, but I think it's not this one, and 2, 3, this one. I think. Turning to the stand, we make sure our lights are off. Sorry for the funky taxi, trying to do everything alone. All right, I'll do it. And since we are on the APU, we can shut down and do the shutdown checklist, shutdown procedure, I should say. And the shutdown checklist. Fuel pumps off, except one for the APU. Probe heat off. Hydraulic panel set. Flaps are up. Parking brake is set. Engine start levers cut off, and the weather radar is off. Shutdown checklist completed. Fantastic. Normally on the real aircraft, this is the time when you get to the most difficult part of the day, the paperwork. And then once the paperwork is ready, we can actually secure the aircraft. But before doing that, I want to make sure that we are taken care of. So let's call for all the ground services. They put the chocks, GPU card, we request the ground power, and the fuel truck is not necessary. We will request the stairs because at some point we want to exit. We want to unload, so for that we will need loaders, and also we will need to unload here, so we will need loaders as well. Once the GPU is connected, it is, you can put it on and stop the APU to stop making noise. Okay, they are starting to unload the aircraft. The big door is opening as well. So once they proceed with that, we will just secure the aircraft and go home. Alright, let's pull the procedure, which is very easy. Iris mode selectors to off. Emergency exit lights off. Window heat switches off. And the packs off. And we can do the checklist, which is exactly the same. IRS is off, emergency exit lights off, window heat off, and packs are off. Good. So let's make sure everything is happening as it should be, and we can power down the aircraft as well. APU or ground power switch off. If the APU was operational, wait 2 minutes, it wasn't, and the battery off. And you can go home. Welcome to Madrid.